Surprise live stream.
Like we had nothing better to do tonight.
So I hope you guys are doing good. Enjoying how quickly December is going by. I can't believe it's already a week into December. Crazy, crazy, crazy.
Where has this week gone?
Yep, Paul's been really busy. He's worked about, 60 hours this past week. Worked over the weekend at his other job.
Yep. And
we have a video to film, and we just decided we'd do it as a date night tonight because we really have not seen each other much. And why not just... We had to do a video anyway, so why not just
Let's do
it. Yeah.
If I fall asleep, I'm sorry. It may happen.
So I'm Jenny.
And I'm Paul.
And this is Paul. We're with the Go Box in Bango Artist Bar in Portland, Oregon. We are streaming from Sherwood, Oregon right now, which is about half hour southwest of downtown Portland. And today we're going to paint the Holiday Barn. This one's really fun. I love it because it kind of has this East Coast vibe, and I love, good job. I love snow. Anytime we can paint snow, I take advantage of all month of December and even into January and sometimes into February doing the snow scenes. We've got a little red cardinal there, which matches the fun red barn, and the tree and the wreath, just adding to this cozy, cozy feel. Someday I want to own property that looks exactly like this.
Well, if I keep having 60-hour weeks, we might be able to do that.
There we go.
Either that or if we get a lot more people to subscribe to the Go Box.
Subscribe now.
Make our dreams come true.
Actually, with that being said, I do want to do a little shout out and thank you to those of you who have been ordering our art kits. Fuzz going by. You are helping us get by during the mandated closure. We've been closed for about, 3 weeks now? That fuzz is haunting us.
I don't see it.
We've been closed about 3 weeks, and this is our time of year that is so busy. We really relied on it for bringing in the money to get us through the slow months, which are in the summer. And it's kind of like we just have to shake our head and say, it is what it is.
Take a drink of wine.
It is what it is, and you guys buying the kits is really helping us, and we're hoping, to ride this out, and...
Not hoping, we're going to do it.
We're going to ride it out, and
hope.
We'll be open at our Portland location, well, when the governor says we can, so cheers.
Enough of that complaining, let's get to painting.
Cheers!
Cheers.
We've got our plastic cup rosé tonight. Woo. So why don't you go ahead and zoom in on the project itself. We'll have a look at the project first. So those of you who have purchased the kit, you have this awesome birch panel. Really easy to hang up on the wall. You can pound one of those little claw things in here. Or sometimes I just put a nail in the wall and hang it up. They're not heavy. And I love how thick they are. You can paint the edges when you're done, if you want to. I usually don't do that when I'm designing a painting just because I'm like, it's done! Next!
Batter up.
So we are going to have a look at our colors real quick.
I'm going to zip us over to the other side real quick.
Okay.
Whoop, there we go.
So primary colors today, black plus black and white. We've got our blue, red, and yellow. Do some color mixing. Not a huge amount of color mixing, but some. And brushes, I have 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. That just kind of gets me through every single painting.
I have small, medium, and large as well.
Crazy.
It's almost like you planned it out this way.
I think I did. So yeah, small, medium, large of whatever kind of brushes. We have several on our website that you can order on gobox.com, or you might provide your own. You just want it small, medium, and large. All right, I'm going to flip this out of the way. Well, I'll just set it out of the way. How about that? I'll reference it here and there.
All right, so I'm going to take us out of the picture.
Thank you.
I do feel like that's a little, never mind.
What?
It does feel a little bit out of focus.
You can try and focus it if it's not too hard.
All right, guys, bear with us.
Bear with us. I'll talk a little bit.
This is live TV.
Live TV, I did mention at the beginning that I felt like it was maybe slightly out of focus. So he's going to fix that. He has glasses, and they're usually not clean, so he can't see anyways, no matter what.
That's not nice. Hey, I need something to focus on, though.
Okay, let me put the painting back here. So go ahead and get your wood panel ready.
Nope,
you'll need a cup of water to...
One too far?
Yeah, there you go. Oh, you just about had it. That's good. That looks good.
That's as good as it's going to get.
That looks good. So you'll need a cup of water to wash your brushes off with, and some kind of paper towel or rag to dry them with.
Oh, that's way better.
Yeah, that is a little better. I always like look at my tattoo and like, is it in focus? It's getting a little blurry anyway because finger tattoos do that.
Yeah, they do that.
Okay, so let's talk about this wood board. I like to turn it so the grain is horizontal because that just kind of, depending on how your paint wash goes on, it can look like clouds, which is really cool.
That's cool.
Unintended clouds. So we're going to take, first of all, and we're going to create a wash. So this is going to feel like if you've ever stained a anything wood, like a deck or whatever. This is what it's going to feel like. We want a really thin wash of color. So that means lots of water, a tiny bit of paint. So I'm going to take my biggest brush, dip it in the water, and I'm going to put a drop of water on the palette. You can see that rolling around there. And then I'm going to use the corner of my brush and pick up a little blue and stir that in, and I'll do a little more. So if you're painting on an easel, for this part you'll want to move your easel aside and work with the board on a flat surface just for this part. Other parts you can put it back. So see how watery that is? When you brush across it, it just kind of beads up.
Oh, it looked like a dolphin for a minute.
Woo! Oh yeah, you can do all kinds of things. Okay, so let's leave it like that. Sometimes there's little floaties, little pigment floaties in there, and I'll just kind of mash them down. But let's go ahead and I'll move this out of the way. It's casting a little shadow on my board. Let's just go back and forth across. If you feel like it's too light and you need a little more paint pigment in it, go ahead and put some in there. I just did now. So because the board is kind of yellowish in tone, it's actually going to work to tone this color out. So it gives it almost a grayish quality. It becomes sort of a slightly grayish blue.
Are we doing the whole thing?
Yeah, we're going to go all the way down. And you'll get these little spots where the water collects. I just will leave it there, and then before it dries completely, I'll go and brush it through, and it disappears. And you'll probably have to remix that wash again and again and again, because it really, the wood really does suck it up, and you'll find that you need to make more. But here, look at that. Look at the cool wood grain coming through there. We're staining our birch panel. Now I'll show you something you could do that's extra credit.
Ooh, bonus points.
I know Paul always likes the extra things. He'll probably go extra on his. He always does. So he's wiping his with a rag.
I don't know if I've got the energy to do extra tonight.
So what you can do extra is, while this is still wet, you could take the corner of your brush and pick up just the tiniest little dot of white. See? Very small amount. And you can brush this in some different spots on here, and it's just gonna look like hazy snow clouds. You don't want to do too much because we do want some of that wood grain showing, and you can see it really disappears pretty fast. But keep in mind, you can definitely do that if you want. So let's just continue on. Go all the way down. It didn't make a huge difference, the white, so I could even add some more. There, that looks more like a snow cloud.
I'm answering a customer.
Okay. Yeah, we've been shipping product all last week. One day we shipped 80 boxes. Now that was our part of our subscription going out. Our UPS guy, I felt so bad for him because it's a lot of boxes to try to fit in the truck.
And it's the first time that we've used them at this address.
Yeah. And so it's a lot of boxes, and I know this time of year their trucks are really full, and I felt bad for the guy, so I ended up giving him an art kit from us because he said his wife is a major fan of our studio. He didn't know we were out here, which a lot of people don't, because we've kind of kept it under the radar a little bit because we're not actually doing live classes here. We're doing videos for the most part and packing. So I've got a funny line here. I'm not going to worry about that too much. It's probably just a line from whatever planing tool they use, do you think, Paul?
Yeah, probably. A lot of times when they use a drum sander or something like that, if it gets caught, it can...
Mine was the board it got caught on. So I purposely pulled this one aside for me And I gave Paul one too that had some weird little flaws on it because
I wouldn't call mine having flaws. It's just got a really trippy like pattern to it.
I'm just adding some
This
water.
needs to be a water painting for mine.
So yeah, when I'm packing stuff, if I find boards that have something like this, I'll pull them aside and we just use them for our videos and whatnot. But this I can easily just brush some cloudy stuff over. I could put my tree over there, this birch tree that we put on here, but I kind of like it off to the side like it is. Hopefully you guys are surviving this holiday season. It's so different from all the others we've had with the quarantine and pandemic and all that. But we've been...
What are you talking about? You're loving it.
Yeah, I tend to be more on the antisocial side, I'd say. I am not loving it. I'm losing a lot of money.
Socially, you're loving it.
Socially, yeah. Okay, so we're going to paint some snow working from the bottom up. We're going to go up to about here. You can see it back there. So maybe you didn't notice that before, but it does look like there's a meadow or something back there. So this is about really close to about the halfway point of the board. You don't even have to wash your brush. Just dip it in some white. See, I picked up some white. And start brushing it across here. It will be a bluish color. We want that. Snow is not always, well, it is pure white, but when it's reflecting a sky and everything, it's not always pure white. It'll sometimes have some blue or gray reflections in it.
Speaking of which, the mountain has fresh snow, and with the low angle of the sun right now.
That's Mount Hood he's talking about.
Yes, the mountain. The mountain in our neighborhood. And it looked amazing today when I was driving up to Washington.
Yeah, it's a really pretty, Mount Hood is just beautiful. It's got some good drama going, you know, with the dramatic glaciers and stuff.
Well, and when I saw it today, it was just as the sun was starting to cross from being east to west, so it was just really picking up the one side.
Nice.
And then with all that fresh snow, it was
Very
sweet.
cool. So up here where there's a pretty sharp horizon line, I like to take, and I'll brush off what paint is left on my brush. Oh, I think I just flicked some in my eye. I'm going to haze out this edge as best as I can, because I like it to kind of just look like it just dissipates into fog or something like that. So I do that by just going over and over and over the wet paint until I've got nothing left on my brush.
I got nothing.
There. So then it really does, it looks like you're looking at a foggy field or something with some really ominous ray of like somebody's getting abducted by aliens right here.
That looks like a good place for your tree.
I was saying that earlier, but I like my tree where it is over to the left. But I think that the fir trees I put in the back are going to cover that.
Sometimes you can't be a control freak of the surface you're
Exactly.
painting on.
I can't.
You gotta let it
Darn
go.
it all. Oh, I don't know why I'm fixing up this area because the barn goes here.
Habit.
Keep that in mind. The barn goes right here, so if you've got little janky areas over there, don't worry about it.
I challenged your OCD and you re-challenged me by being OCD about that spot.
Okay, so let's go ahead now. We're going to make these. You maybe didn't really notice them before. They are an important part of the painting because they give it this sort of cozy feel. It looks like this, whoever owns this property has like a forest on the edge of it, and it just looks really quaint and lovely. So this is just creating some bulky shrubby areas, and they're undefined except for I've got one here that's a little more defined, and it's really the snow that defines it. And then these ones right here behind the birch tree are more defined. So those are going to be the trees to focus on. These back here, be loose, keep it simple, keep it sloppy. Keep it simple, keep it sloppy.
What are we doing?
We're going to create these trees back here.
Gotcha.
So color-wise, let's go ahead with our wash again. You might need to make a fresh wash. Clean your brush off. Your water's going to turn kind of weird milky blue.
And that's okay.
Oh, I need some of that water. So I'm going to plop some water down, add some blue to it. A little more pigmented than your wash, but not a ton. And this time, we're going to turn it slightly gray. So we're going to add some black to it, just a little. Black will overpower, so just use a little at a time until you get kind of a slate color. And our background is still wet, and this works really good with that. I could even add, I feel like the original ones are a little more gray. There, that's about the right color. Maybe add a little water. Nice and thin. We'll try it out, and if we need to add more paint pigment to it, we'll do that. But what I want to do is, I'm going to dab my brush on the towel just once on each side first. I want to just kind of wiggle my brush up and down using the vertical skinny edge of it. These, as they dry, the color will evaporate a little bit more. It'll sort of fade out. So I'm just creating tree shapes, or like a hedge.
A hedge?
Shape. A hedge shape. Don't worry down here. We'll fix that up with some snow later. So see, I'm focusing on varying heights. And I can come back in and touch some of these up. And it's just going to go off the side of the board here on the left.
Well, I'm getting a lot of bleed on mine.
Okay, actually, if you look at the original, it has a lot of bleed too. So the bleed is when it really starts, the water spreads it out onto your board. And in this particular step, it's totally fine for that to happen.
Yeah, because it's supposed to look like fogginess anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'll just kind of flatten the bottom edge here slightly. Although, like I said, we're going to put some snow over there. And let's just sort of bring it down small, because the barn is going to cover up the rest of this. It looks really cool right now. Like, put some fir trees like in here, and you've got this cool foggy northwest scene. And look at, this is still trying to pop through. I'm not going to look at it. Now I'm going to create, one of these is going to be a slightly more defined tree. Mainly the top, because it's going to disappear down in here until we put snow on it. So I don't want you to worry yourself over this tree. Keep it very simple, keep it very sloppy, and don't worry about it. Don't worry about it as much as I'm worrying about that. So I'm going to take one of these, I'll take this one. I'm going to bring it up with a tall tree trunk. And then I'll use the corner of my brush and do a few dots at the top. And then I'm going to turn my brush and literally sort of tap it down zigzaggy style. Utilize the corner of your brush a lot. Anytime you need a small area done, you can definitely use the corner of the brush to detail any weird tree bough. And that's all we're going to do here. Our snow that we add on later will... You must have added more black to this.
I did, because it wasn't actually showing up on my...
Okay. Yeah, if it's not showing up, add more paint to your water. I'm going to wash my brush now. So you can pause the video anytime if you're catching up. And this video, even though it's live today, it will be... We're not going to take it down ever. It's going to be up here on our YouTube channel. I'm going to take a little white now and clean up the bottom edge here. Even though it's still wet, we want it to mix a little, because that can create what looks like a shadow being cast onto the snow from these trees. But look at that. It creates this sort of foggy look at the bottom of the woods here. I like it.
I like it a lot.
I like it a lot. Now we're going to start talking about the barn. We will do more defined trees later. We're going to skip around a lot on this board because we need to let some areas dry. Like right now we're letting this dry while we work on something over here. And then we come back here, we'll work on these trees. So yeah, it's a lot of flipping back and forth, and that's mainly for drying time. So let's talk about this barn.
Okay.
I have the simplest barn ever. Literally, if I cut this part off, you've got like the house that you drew when you're in kindergarten. The rectangle with the triangle on top.
This is basically the same barn we just did on the
Yeah,
holiday
it's the
ornaments.
exact same barn on the holiday ornaments.
It's actually the same painting.
It is. Except for the bird. The bird would have been way too small.
Right.
So those of you guys who did the holiday ornaments, you did a mini version of this on the ornament. And we put glitter in the snow. It was so fun. I loved those.
So you got a head start.
Yep, you got a head start.
Insider information.
Now, if you prefer to use a pencil to trace this on, go for it. If you're like the type that you want to use a ruler to, go for it. I'm not going to judge because I can't see you doing it. Hopefully you'll post your paintings so we can see them though. But yeah, so let's think about it just as a triangle, and then we add this little area that it just goes out in an angle and down. And I mentioned on our Christmas ornament one that we did, my friend's barn looked just like this, and her horse was, this was like where the stables were, and her horse would poke his head out the window all the time. It was so cute. It was a lot larger window than this one. And then we've got the little hayloft up here where the chickens, do you remember the Fisher Price barn? Did you ever have that? And it had the hayloft with the chickens in it?
I did not.
So I didn't have it, but our church daycare area, preschool area had it.
I was a Weeble Wobble kid.
I had Weeble Wobbles too.
I had the Weeble Wobble farm.
Fun. Okay, so this is going to, let's look at how close to the top it is. This is maybe about 2 inches. Now, if you got our brush set, your largest brush, if you've got the white one, it's exactly 1 inch. So you can kind of eyeball it, or you can use a ruler if you want.
Or you can just guess.
Or you can just guess, and it can be slightly different, because mine will definitely be slightly different. I have 2 versions of this. Here's one I did. I taught it twice last year, so you can see they're slightly different. Like my barn and this one's really faded. I probably had a lot of water in the paint. Definite little differences here and there. For me, it's probably going to be a little closer just because I am the same artist doing it. Let's talk about color. Color of the barn. So I wanted sort of an aged wood look. I'm going to use my middle-sized brush. And I'm going to pull in a little black and mix it with some red. So you're going to get kind of a burgundy. About like that. Kind of the color, it's like a cranberry sauce color. I was going to say Merlot, but that would be, I wouldn't want to drink a Merlot that was quite so cranberry. And I'm not going to draw it with this big brush because, I mean this middle brush, because I feel like it's maybe a tiny bit too big. So I'm just going to set it aside because I'm going to use it in a minute. So it's got paint on it, but that's okay. I'm going to pick up my smallest brush. I'll dip it in the water and kind of brush it lightly on the bottom of the cup and then dry it off. And I'll grab a dot of this red. Let's mark off the top of the barn. So it is about, let's find the top right corner, and I want you to come in about 2 inches. Just put your finger there, and then come down about 2 inches. Just eyeball it and make a dot. That's going to be the very peak top of our barn roof. And then I'm literally just going to do an angle down. What is this, like a 45-degree angle?
Something like that.
And we don't have to worry about drawing anything over here. I don't have water mixed in with the paint because I don't want it to bleed out too much. A little is fine, but you don't want to too much. And then I'm going to bring this, I want to keep this about the exact, like if I were to just mirror reflect this, I want it about the same. And I'm going to bring it down to, in fact, you can kind of float, well, let's not do that. I think that would be setting us up to have it in a way that wouldn't look good. So here we go. I'm going to bring it down to about the same, or close to the same. Mine's not exact. And now this, let's just bring it straight down to about here. Very easy shape to draw. And you can go ahead and draw a line that goes off the side here. We're going to bank some snow up over this bottom edge, so if it's wavy or not straight, it's totally fine. It's not even going to be there anymore. It's going to be, you can see, I'll show you the picture. It's going to have snow banked right up to it. Now let's make this. So this just goes off at a, not as sharp of an angle as this. It's more of a wider angle. It's probably about 2 inches long. And then this, leave an overhang. Leave a little overhang. So if you drew this part already, you can just draw an overhang. And we'll just go back to there. Voila! Cute little barn is done, or at least the shape of it. Let's wash our brush. Now, we're gonna fill it in. So you can use this middle brush and fill it in with that, or if you wanna use the bigger brush, you can do that. I kind of like this middle brush because you can think of it like the little wood planks that are there. It gives you a little more, this brush will give you a little more texture to your brush strokes than that bigger one. Filling it in. Cute little barn. So I follow this Instagram page that is called Cheap Nordic Homes because I just love looking at homes in other countries, and my ancestry, my family is from Finland, so I like looking at the Nordic stuff. Anyway, there's a lot of homes in Sweden that are posted for sale. And they're always this bright red color with white trim. Huh. Like a ton of them. Not always, but a ton of them. So I think that's funny. It must be just like a really popular style there or something. It looks amazing, like against the snow, like what we're doing now.
That's why they painted that color. So
I bet.
So they can find their way home. White picket, ouch!
Mm-hmm.
That would be a knee burner.
I texted my brother today. I'm like, let's move to Finland and go ice fishing.
What do you say?
He made some funny joke about fins, like fish fins. Thankfully, a lot of, from what I understand, a lot of Finnish speak English, because if we ever visited there, Finnish language is, I have read, it's one of the toughest languages to learn. And I know there's a lot of long words, a lot of umlauts over the vowels. There we go, nice shiny barn. It will dry and be more matte, but right now it's really super shiny with a fresh coat of paint. We're gonna age it a little bit by adding some more darker burgundy to it, but that's gonna happen a little bit later on. And but for now, we're gonna let it dry. Go ahead and wash your brush off whenever you're ready. Hey, we got 4 people watching us. We didn't think we'd have anybody because
this is just totally an impromptu.
We didn't like advertise it. Just this morning, I texted Paul. I was like, "You want to film that barn video as a live stream?" And so, thanks for tuning in.
I think you caught me in the yeah, whatever, whatever works.
This painting does not take a long time though, so you'll be good. And I see you are going extra. He's adding some bluish highlights.
Oh, I like the bluish highlights.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed I had some shining through, and I was like, oh, I want to put
I like that. Okay. Treat time. Treat time. So what I want to have us do first, before we do these fir trees that are right here, this little cluster of 3, let's put some snow on this one back here. We want very, very little paint. Just a whisper of white. And I'm going to use my medium brush. Now if you're, what?
Careless whisper.
Careless whisper. If you have a lot of pink in your water, you might pause the video and change your water. But what I do is I wash my brush really good, and then I dry it really good. And the act of drying it and squeezing the water out gets most of the excess paint pigment out. I never change my water, ever. I just got in the habit of not changing it. So I'm going to dip my brush in white, brush it off on the palette or paper towel so I have very little. In fact, you can see it's just like a ghost layer of white. at the top of the tree, dab it on. I almost have too much, but I think it'll be okay. So see what I'm doing? I'm dabbing it on the little tree boughs, and this helps define the tree a little more because it wasn't the prettiest tree. Let's face it, it wasn't.
Don't be insulting.
I'm insulting my own tree. But this looks like it's like pretty and soft and has been flocked, sprinkled with powdered sugar.
How does that tree feel the rest of the year?
I don't know.
Now that you've just said it's only pretty when it has snow on it.
There is no season for this painting. It's always going to be snowy. Actually, it would be kind of fun to do a full seasonal year of this scene. Spring, summer, fall. Maybe I will do that when I have more time.
This tree wouldn't show up.
You're right.
They would say, you said I was ugly and it's not wintertime and I don't want to be a part of your painting.
Maybe I would paint a squirrel in this tree. There we go. So nice. And look how pretty it is. And we could even like paint little decorations in it, but I think that would take away from the tree and the barn and the wreath that we put in here. So we're just going to leave it, and look how pretty it is. I love that because with all the shadows coming through, it just looks, it looks like it has a lot of depth and dimension when really it started off just being a basic shape. I hate drinking out of plastic cups.
Yeah.
We don't have a dishwasher here yet. It requires some permits and stuff because it will be an operational for business dishwasher when we are able to one day open this Sherwood space for classes. So until then, plastic cups it is.
Or when we decide to bring glasses and take them home.
Yeah, that's kind of a pain though.
Which we've done.
All right, so I'm cleaning my brush, and now I am going to paint the little tree trio here. They go tall, medium, and then smaller. So it kind of almost looks like they're on a hill. And color-wise and brush-wise, we're gonna mix black and blue together. I'm gonna steal the palette. Oh, you're putting more snow on other trees.
Well, I had this one other
You're trying
tree.
to show us up.
No, I had this one other tree.
Oh, okay.
Don't be giving me grief tonight.
Okay, so let's mix black and blue. You don't need a lot of paint. And I do want to stir in a drop of water and thin it out just a bit. And this is going to feel really dark, but when we put our snow on these trees, it will look better. Okay, so we're going to plant our trees. They're going to be about in line with the barn. Like, let's say they were on the same, if we were to continue this line across here, that's where they grow. But when we pile the snow up around the base of them, it kind of goes like this. So it's going to look like they're on a hill. And height-wise, so here, let's plant our first tree. I'll just put a dot right here. So it's about 1/2 inch in from the left. And I'm going to float my brush up, and I'm going to bring it up to about here. So this is, what do you think, 5 inches? Yeah, about 5 inches tall, if you need a reference. I like to draw a tree trunk first. Some artists just go right for the tree foliage.
That's me.
That's Paul. I find that students a lot of times like to have something to attach the tree boughs to, but...
Do you realize that that's the reason why I quit doing the trunk is
Probably.
because of students?
Probably. So this part, to do the very top of the tree, it works really good to switch to your smallest brush, but keep this one in your non-painting hand because we're going to switch right to it. I'm going to put a little row of dots at the top of this. You can't hardly see them on the video, but it's when you buy a Christmas tree, there's that one spike that sticks straight up that you put your star on.
In theory.
In theory. And now I'm going to make a tiny little mustache at the top. That's just starting the very first tree bough. And now I'm going to add another and another. And see what I'm doing with my brush. I'm lifting it and poking it, just dabbing it. Now I want to switch to the bigger brush because this would end up being way too detailed and it would take way too much time, much more time than it needs to. So I'm using my medium brush now once I get this tree started. And I'm just going to pop back and forth. Pop, pop, pop. Pop, pop, pop. And see, when I do the dabbing up and down, it gives it this shaggy look. Nice shaggy fir tree. So I have a fir tree question for you, Paul.
I'll do my best.
Do the same variety of fir trees that we get here in the Northwest grow on the East Coast? Or are they different varieties?
I think they're different. Honestly, I don't know the exact answer, which is unusual.
Mhm.
But I do think that they're like Douglas fir, which is the predominant tree of the Pacific Northwest, is not very common.
I don't really ever see any pictures.
Most of the East Coast is deciduous forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to draw the next one. Exactly the same method. Let's plant it first. This one slightly overlaps. So I'll just plant it right, like maybe a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch away from the first one. And it's going to be shorter. It's going to come up maybe about 1 inch shorter. Draw your line. I'm using my small brush because it's already got the paint on it and we're going to use it first anyway. Your tree trunk should not be seen in the end. You should put enough foliage over it that you won't see it. Let's do the little dots at the top. Little mustache. Dabbing your brush up and down. Now I'm not poking my brush straight on. You can see I'm holding it at an angle. That's going to work better for you, and it's also going to protect your brush from being frayed. You don't want no frayed brushes. Now I'm going to switch to my middle brush and continue on. Just let it overlap. They will do that in nature. They are going to touch each other. Gonna add more paint to my palette. Paul is taking it all.
I'm actually not. And you keep adding more and more black every time you mix it.
Do I? Okay, let me
Yeah.
get some blue back in there. It's because I can't really see it because I'm off to the side and it's got a glare. Yeah, I know I added a lot of blue. Thanks, Paul. That's okay though, actually. I kind of like that, having them slightly different colors. As this dries, it's going to fade to be more like that one. Third and final tree here. I'm going to space this one. It looks like on the original it's spaced a little bit further. It doesn't overlap into the other one as much as these two overlap. And keep in mind your birch tree is going to go right through them, so if you have tree problems, chances of it being covered up by the birch tree are very high. So this one I'm going to do about 1 inch away. So if I were to find the end here, go over right about there, kind of, sort of ish. And I'm going to make this one kind of short. Draw my line, connect the dots. Little dots, little mustache. More mustaches and more. We've got Tom Selleck up in here. Shaggy mustachios. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to my middle brush. Did you ever used to watch Magnum P.I. Paul?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I had a crush on him. It's funny to think that. But man, I don't know. It's that 1970s mustache.
That was 80s.
The early 80s.
Yeah.
There.
I thought they
It's
were
like the
rebooting
Three Wise
that.
Men.
I thought they were rebooting that. I thought there was a new Magnum PI coming out.
I don't know. I thought I had heard something about that too. I'm washing my brush, guys. Just cleaning it off. And
Wasn't the
setting it
helicopter
aside.
pilot guy's name TJ?
Oh, I don't remember. I can't remember that. My brain has had too many things to process. I've had 2 children and 1 business with 4 locations, and I can't remember anything anymore. I've proven that. Okay, the barn is still a little bit wet, and that's okay. What we do next will actually work just fine. What I want to do is I want to draw the black actual roof, which you see here. And then we put the snow on the top of that later. So I'll probably use my littlest brush. If you have a small flat brush, you can use the skinny edge of it, and that works really good. But I'm going to use, I only have a round brush, 2 round brushes and this big flat one. So I'm going to use my little round brush, my detail brush. And I'll start, got too much paint on there. Start way out here. And literally, you're just going to outline the roof. So I find pulling towards myself is a little easier. So I'll a lot of times turn my whole entire painting. And sometimes if you mix a little tiny bit of water with your paint, not so much that it's going to bleed out, so you don't want to color wash, you just want a little bit of fluidity to your paint. You can get a nice long line without your brush running out of paint. I'm going to go over this one again. Mine is, it's probably about, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch wide.
It's a rustic barn.
It's a rustic barn. I want one of these.
My cousins had a hay barn when I was growing up.
Fun. Mine did too, and it was really
used to play
old.
in it a lot.
The one that my family had was, it was on the property from the original house before Uncle Aaron built his cabin.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really falling apart. It was like one of those ones you see pictures of where they're all skeletal.
Yeah, they probably shouldn't have been playing in that.
We were playing in it as kids. It wasn't that skeletal, but there were planks missing. And yeah, I remember there was a barn owl in it, and it looked like a ghost. I know I've said that before on our videos lots of times because I paint a lot of owls, and that story usually comes up.
Maybe that's why you're inspired by owls so much.
Could be, because I was terrified as a child. Okay. All right, so I'm going to draw some windows and doors, and then we'll age some of the barnwood if needed. So right up here, I have this rectangular window. It's centered, if you were to measure, it's probably about 1.5 inches down from the peak, and then it's just centered in there. So let's come down about 1.5 inches, make a dot, and then just draw a little rectangle. Unless you want to do a different shape, you could do a little square here. You could look up old barns on Pinterest. That's usually what I do when I'm designing a painting.
No.
Yes, I do.
You mean you don't just come up with everything out of your head?
A lot of things I do, but you know, after 9 years of coming up with paintings, a lot of times I need some inspo.
I was kind of using that as a gateway.
A gateway? What do you
Yeah.
mean?
Well, a turning point in the conversation. It's okay to use photo reference
It
when you're painting.
absolutely is.
I think a lot of people watch Bob Ross, which I love Bob Ross, but everything seems just so spontaneous and out of his noggin.
Yeah.
And reality is that's great, but it's also good to use photo reference or visual reference, I should say.
He, I read he did 3 paintings for every episode he did.
Mm-hmm.
One to create the painting, one practice, and one during the actual filming or something.
I think what he did was, if I remember right,
I'm going to paint a little square window right here.
He did the conceptual painting, the live painting, and then a finished, more refined version, is what I had heard. I could be wrong. I usually am.
We should paint one of those oval canvases like he always did.
Oh, that would be awesome.
How do you hold it on your easel, though? That would be some tricky stuff.
Don't know.
So the barn door, or doors, you could do 2, you know, however you want to do it. Technically, there are 2 doors here that would close together, come together and have a seam in the middle, but they're open. They're open inwards, which probably is not right. They're probably technically open outwards, but we're not going to draw those weird things. We're just going to have an opening. So this is, it's centered with the peak, and in fact, what I'll do is usually just kind of float my brush down. This is about the height of the door I want. Make a dot. And then it's just, I just draw a line that's about the equal width on each side. And down it goes. Enough room, make sure you have a room to put your tree. It's a small tree though, so don't worry too much about saving a bunch of huge room for it. And I'm going to use my biggest brush to fill that barn door in because it's rather large. This will give me a nice smooth coat. So we have another live video coming up Friday this week. And it's another panel that goes along with this one, but it's in our subscription box crate. But you're welcome to watch and paint along. If you have the crate, absolutely, you'll want to do that. But you can, you don't have to do it that day. I'm going to find it. Here it is. Sorry.
Oh, you're bumping everything all over the place.
It's this one. So this one's streaming on Friday this week. And
this is part of the Winter Trilogy kit, too.
Yeah, the other one is the red truck. Which I'm not going to get up and get it.
Yeah, that's okay.
So this I always think is somewhere on this property.
People tuned in to watch us paint, not to watch you do Olympics.
True that. Okay. Now let's age our barn wood just a little. It doesn't take much. I technically could leave it without doing that, but I'll show you one here. Like I have these horizontal lines. And they are done not in black, they're actually the burgundy color. So the color we painted our barn with, just a touch more black to it to make it show up.
Age of wood, just a little wood. That didn't work out at all.
No, it didn't work out.
It was a good effort, though. Well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't give myself credit. That's kind of presumptive.
So this color is going to be less cranberry sauce and getting closer to like a Merlot purpley color. And I'll start right above this window. I just do a light sketch, like a non-committal sketch. It doesn't even go all the way across half the time. And under it, I'll do another. Sometimes it's just like a broken up line. And then the other one goes right above the door. Or like right here where the roof starts angling off. And then what you can do is you can use this same brush or you can use your medium brush and just streak some, I'm gonna wipe off paint, I had too much. Streak some vertical lines here and there. I wiped off all the paint. So it's hard to see because of the glare, but let me tilt this a little. You can see what I'm doing here. It's subtle.
Well, we'll have to play around with our light placement for Friday.
Yeah.
We just kind of changed our setup a little bit. Nothing major, but we changed our overhead rig and moved our lights around. So this is our first video with that setup.
Yeah, and when the paint's wet, you can see, yeah, look at that. Ooh,
well, you're tilting it towards...
I know. So under the roof was a good place to put these darker streaks of color, like right along here, almost like a shadow. Our barn looks so lonely and desolate right now until we add that pretty trim and the pretty wreath and tree. My friend who had the barn that looked like this, I would totally give her this painting, but she's an artist too, and it's always like, it feels weird because her paintings are really good. If you have any spot on here that's a little too dark and in your face and you don't like it, just glaze over it with some red. Let's see what that looks like. Take my middle-sized brush for that and just dip it in the red. And literally you could just glaze over some spots that feel like they're a little too intense. And when this dries, it just will be more subtle.
I think the great masters used to give each other paintings all the time.
Yeah, they did actually. Like Paul Gauguin painted Van Gogh. I love his portrait of Van Gogh. It looks more like I imagine Van Gogh looked. I'm going to get some of my brushes out of the water. They're all nesting there.
I'm going to let my barn stay kind of rustic.
Okay. I like that. That looks nice and rustic. Looks like it needs an old beat up car inside.
Nope. Nope. No beat up cars inside.
Okay, time to flock these trees. Let's put some snow on them.
What the flock?
Middle-sized brush, little white paint. So I dip it in the white, picked up some paint, and I'm going to brush it off on the palette just to get a little bit off. So
Flock
it's not...
this tree, and this tree in particular.
All right, so let's dab some paint, just like we did this one. This can be a little more intense and bright than this background tree because these are more in the foreground. Leave some of your dark tree boughs showing through. I do hope we get some snow here this year. We need it. Man, 2020 was a bust. I hated 2020 so much.
Here's a key, though.
We need some
So I think a lot of
good,
people are setting
pretty
themselves
snow.
up. A lot of people are setting themselves up for major disappointment, thinking that like magically on January 1st, 2020, all the crap's gonna
Oh
be gone.
gosh, I know. I was doing that for a while, just thinking 2020 just needs to get over.
Gonna be over.
It's like
It's not like everything's magically gonna change.
I know. I think there's just some mental part though where you think it's the number will change, everything will change. It's hope. How about that? It's just hoping.
It's like asking our Asperger's son, well, on his birthday, do you feel different? Well, no, it's just a day different than yesterday.
Yep, that's the truth. Well, I hope at least things gradually, magically change in 2021.
I think they will.
I think that would be nice. These look photoshopped on. Don't they? Like they have
Why
that,
did you do that?
They have that funny like blue screen look.
It's just because they're like so pasted on looking right now.
I'm gonna put a little more snow. I think I maybe left a little too much dark.
You were too rigid.
Rigid. I tend to be rigid.
That's true.
You didn't have to agree. They still look a little pasted on, but they look better.
I don't know if I'm going to do the birch tree.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
Where are you going to put your cardinal?
There's no cardinals in Oregon.
I told you this was an East Coast painting.
Then why do we have fir trees?
Because there are some fir trees over there, I'm sure. Google it.
Coniferous trees of the East Coast.
All right, so I'm going to put a snow bank over the bottom of these trees. And see how I'm kind of swooping it down? And it might need more than one coat of paint because you can see through it a little bit. We are going to do this over here, but I feel like the barn is still a little bit wet and we would end up with pink snow. And we don't want to do that, so we'll do that later. But I'm going to do something I did on the truck painting. For those who did the red truck, let that dry. After this dries, I'll get another coat of white on here to make those go away, the see-through. But I create some snow banking by I leave some of the blue showing through, the blue base that we have. But I create these little hills and I just let my brush run out of paint. So I'm brushing down from the top of these little hillocks. Then you've got this cool effect where you've got the shadow, so it looks like you've got little mounds of snow built up.
Looks like yew trees are really common.
Like, how do you spell that? Y-E-W?
Yes.
These are yew trees. So this snow banking I'm doing, you can add a lot or a little.
Now,
It can be more smooth, like this original is definitely very smooth. base, and then it has the snow banking just along here. I happen to like this look, but you might like the other way. On this guy, I also did that same sort of thing where you've got the shadow from the background showing through.
If any of you are on the East Coast and you're rolling your eyes at our knowledge of the trees on the East Coast, feel free to drop a comment in the link and
call us out.
No, just tell us what kind of coniferous trees you guys do have, because we've only been to Boston one time.
And we were in the city.
Yeah, and then outside of that, we've been to Colorado, which doesn't count as the East Coast, and I know they've got pine trees in Colorado. So, educate us.
We need to travel more.
We do.
I really want to go to upper East Coast, like Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont.
Yeah.
We'll just follow one of our subscriptions there and be like, we're hand delivering it. Just so we can write it off.
Well, maybe, we've talked about in the past is when we first started that it would be fun to do like a tour.
A tour? Wow, we better get a lot of follows.
Make it happen, people.
We'll go on tour.
Yeah.
Let's see, we had to pick a number of follows on YouTube. We will go on tour at 20,000. That's probably not quite enough.
Well, I don't mean like actual like on tour like we have a tour bus and roadies. But I mean like we could go
like the way podcasters go on tour.
We could go do an event in another part of the country.
Or we can stick with YouTube. There, I like the ground like that. It could look like fog, or it could look like snow on a very textured ground.
Wait a minute, hold on, back up.
Yeah.
You wouldn't take the opportunity to go travel as a business expense to go see the country?
I would. Here, refill me.
I think you need another refill. What I need is like a gallon of water right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. Why didn't you buy water? We have iced tea.
I already drank it all.
You did? Oh, I wanted a sip of that.
Too bad.
Well.
I've been doing physical labor 10 hours a day for the last 5 days, so I'm a little on the... I'm not even going to finish my sentence.
Believe it or not, we don't have a ton left to do.
What?
Yeah, we don't.
I don't believe it.
We don't have a ton left to do. It's little things. But what I want to do right now is get our birch tree on, which goes from the bottom to the top, and it is about a 1/2 inch wide down here. It tapers to about a 1/4 inch wide up here, so you got that, what the trees do, where they're thicker, where they grow out of the ground, and then just gradually go up narrower at the top. And we'll paint it on in white, and then let it dry a bit while we work on the barn, like we'll do the trim on the barn. And then we will come back and add the black and the black branches. So let's do it. Let's use our middle-sized brush. Again, if your water is too pink, you can change it out. Or just wash your brush really good and squeeze the excess water out. I'm going to mark off points where I want the tree to be down here and up here. It can lean a little bit. That's okay. They do that in nature. This is, if we go over from the lower left corner about 1 inch and make some kind of mark in white, then I'm going to float my brush along, kind of drawing a straight line, or just go over 1 inch up here. That's an easier way to do it. There you go. We have 2 dots to connect. Mine don't exactly line up perfectly. And you can go from the sky down or the ground up. I'm just sketching it in real lightly right now, so it's going to be just a single line. And now I'm going to thicken that up. I am actually going to flip my board around because I want the thicker part of the tree with the most paint to be down here. So here I made it about a 1/2 inch wide. And then I'm going to go up or down, I guess.
Well, you're just flipping things all over the place.
Yep. If you feel more comfortable using a smaller brush for this, definitely do so. If this feels like not right in your hand, switch to your smaller guy. I might actually bring this about 3/4 of the way to here, and then right now switch to my little brush. And this might need a second coat, especially where it goes over these darker trees back here. You might be able to see through them. I use a block out white, and it's really thick like buttercream. When we fill our little paint bottles with it, it's actually kind of comical. It's how thick it is. So it does have a little more coverage than like a titanium white, but still a lot of times needs another coat. So I'm going to flip this back around. And got some spots to smooth out just a bit. Add some more paint too with my middle brush. Once I have it drawn on to the thicknesses I like, then I can go through and kind of smooth out the edges a bit. But trees naturally are pretty rough, their bark and everything, so if you've got little wibble wobbly marks, they are like that in nature, so that's good. We want it that way. We don't want it too cartoony. That works for me. I've got a couple little knobs on there, which I like. I'm going to leave it alone, let it dry a bit, and after it dries, then I'll be able to look at it and see if it needs a second coat. I can already tell right through there. I'll want to put a little paint, a little more paint. Well, we've got our little brush, if you have it in hand. We're going to use white on it to do the trim work, so I'm going to pick up some more white with that. I'll start with the littler parts, like this little window up here.
Oh, gee.
I just do these two. That's what you were doing all day today.
It is.
I do the two verticals first, and then the horizontal lines. Now, if your window felt too small and you want to make it a little bigger, you can paint this trim just outside the black. If it's too big and you want to make it smaller, paint this trim over the black, if that makes sense. So we like these wood boards. Paul actually brought up a good point that for storage, for Christmas paintings, these are great. You don't have to worry about, because canvas can get punctured and bent and dented. So this is really a good storing holiday painting. And if you are a glitter person, which I definitely am.
Oh, come on now.
What we did, I love glitter. What we did with the ornaments, we did this barn ornament. If I could get up without like knocking everything down, I would get it. But we painted Mod Podge on the snowy areas and then sprinkled I was going to say white and iridescent, but it was like iridescent glitter over it. And you could do that on this too. Some of you might even have some glitter left. Now it wouldn't be enough to cover this, all the snow in this. So if you've got glitter left from the November kit, you could put glitter on like this, the snowy barn roof, or even like just these tree branches. It'd be so cute. And those ornaments are still for sale as a kit. So if you didn't get the, if you weren't a subscriber to the November box, you can buy it on gobox.com under, was it shop?
Yep.
And you'll see it. It's probably on the first page. We have like 5 or 6 pages of kits now. A lot. There, cute. Now I want to put snow on the top of the barn. It's about the same width as the trim that I just painted on. So I'll just use this same brush. And go right along the edge of the black roof line that we painted on. And I'm going to turn this so I can pull down towards myself. You can use a lot of paint on your brush for this part because your line can be a little wiggly. It's snow that's landed on the roof and maybe some of it has slid off. Maybe some bird has landed, knocked some snow off. Speaking of birds, today I put out a kit for, and if you guys get a lot of deliveries, which a lot of you probably are this time of year, it's really nice to put out a kit of some snacks for the UPS drivers, Amazon drivers, FedEx, USPS, all that. So I did that today, and I had gotten some stuff from Costco and put some juice and soda and chips and candy and stuff in there. And I had 2 deliveries today, and nobody took anything except a bird pooped on the box.
Maybe that's why nobody took anything.
No, it actually pooped. It was like on the flap. So the flap of the box I had pushed up, and I wrote a little note on there. You know, like, hey, thanks for your work. Take a snack. And when I got home halfway through the day, the flap was pushed down back into the box. And I was like, what in the world? I think a bird landed on it, and it pushed down, and then it pooped on it. So when I flipped it back up, the poop was on the back of it. So, like, the other drivers couldn't see it. But I was like, come on, rude. They poop on anything.
Well, I mean, we do have a bird feeder right there.
Yeah, they were just checking out what I had. We have a squirrel that keeps getting into our bird feeder, so I was like worried that the squirrel would take some of the chocolate.
Might solve our squirrel problem.
Paul's adding icicles to his barn, which that's fun to do. In fact, I'll do a couple just for you to see. You'd want to use very little paint on the very tip of the brush, and you just drag some little points down like that. And you can go all along the roof, but you want them to hang vertically. You don't want them to like lean in any way, shape, or form, so they're always going to be straight down. That's kind of fun. Why you gotta do these things, Paul?
Sorry.
So I'm not gonna add any more because this wasn't part of the plan and I don't want to take too much extra time doing extra stuff on mine. I can add another coat of white, it looks like. It's still a tiny bit wet, but mostly dry. And I don't have to add a coat of white over the whole entire tree. There's just a couple spots.
For some reason, I feel like my barn looks like a Muppet. I don't know why I think that.
That's kind of a weird comparison, but okay.
I don't know. It is what it is.
At this point, your red should be dry. And so let's go ahead and we're going to put some snow up along the edge of the barn. But right here, I pretty much keep it flat because the tree is going to go there. And I imagine maybe at some point it was shoveled and got snow put back on it. But mainly it's because the tree is right there. And here's what I do. I just go over the edge of the barn and just kind of come down and flatten it out right through here. This is obviously going to need a second coat of paint because you can see through it. So I'll brush it on, let it dry, and plan on putting a second coat on after it dries. Because with acrylic paint, you gotta wait a few minutes for it to dry before you put a second coat on. It really doesn't like when you try to put a second coat on top of the first wet paint. Okay, tree is also drying because I added some extra weight to it. So now would be a good time for us to work on our wreath and then our tree in here. And we want to make green. Let's have a look at the green color I use. So you can make it a more evergreen color that's closer to like a teal, like a more of a bluish green. This one I made it a little more of a yellowy green, but either way works. It just depends on what tone of green you like, because there are a million different shades of green. So I'm going to, like, here's, actually on this one, it has more of an evergreen color. So you see how dark it is? So that had a little more blue in it than yellow. Let's see. I like to use I try to avoid using my small brush to mix colors. And I know sometimes I do just because I don't think about it. But the less you can use this, the less your bristles will get compromised. So I use it for painting mainly and try to keep my mixing to my middle brush or my big brush depending on what I'm doing. Let's pull aside some blue. We really put way too much paint on our palette. We don't need this much. And I'll mix in some yellow. So what I'm getting right now is, this is more of that evergreen shade. So see, it's almost like a dark teal color. It's like our wall color, Paul.
Kind of, yeah.
And then to get, like the color I did on the Holiday Barn painting, I actually added quite a bit more yellow. So see the difference?
And everybody just used their whole supply of yellow paint.
You do whatever is what you like. There we go. Now I'm going to set this brush back in the water. I'm going to use my little brush to paint the wreath on, and let's grab this. Here it is. Just a little circle in between the door and the window. I have less space on this one for whatever reason. That's funny. I probably made a much shorter door. And you can draw a circle first if you want, but I tend to like to just dab it in a imperfect circle. I know on the little ornament, I think we did it around the window because we didn't have a lot of space. So just dabbing the brush down, not poking it, because poking it would be straight up and down. See how I'm using the edge of it kind of? It can even overlap the trim a little if needed. And I could make the center hole a little smaller. That will make my wreath nice and full. For the tree, I did something funky here, which I will explain, and I'll show you. Before painting the tree on, so I washed my little brush, because we're not going to go straight to green. Before painting the tree on, I wanted to create a glow around it. So you can see here, especially if I bring it up a little bit, it's got this sort of messy glow around it, and I actually finger painted that on. So I'm going to show you. I want to use a mixture of white and yellow. If I were to give you a recipe, I would say 2 parts white, 1 part yellow. I'm grabbing my middle brush to mix it, just so I get out of the habit of using that small one so much. So 2 parts white, 1 part yellow. It makes a nice lemon yogurt color. Lemon buttercream. Nice and light. See it compared to the original? There's the original yellow. This is the lighter yellow. Oh, I think I just got some green in it. No, I can't tell. Okay, set this down. I'm gonna dab my finger in that. So see, I picked up a little bit of paint, not a ton, just a little on my finger. So you can dab it off on your palette to knock excess off. And I literally just dotted out a triangular shape. You don't have to worry about filling in the middle. This is only for the outside edge. So this is going to create a cool glow around your tree when you paint it on, so it looks like the lights are really creating this soft glow in the barn door. So I'm going to make it kind of a fat triangle because the light can extend out beyond the tree. And this does wash off of your hands. It'll wash right off with hot soapy water. So this should be really dry right now. Like I can rub all over it. It's dry. It's not really getting on my finger. It dries really fast when you're using that small amount. And you know what? Let's go ahead and put a little on the ground. And I just am going to go back and forth with my finger. You could use a brush here. I probably did on the original. Don't eat the yellow snow. That's what my dad used to say whenever we had snow days and we'd go out and play. He'd be like, have fun. Don't eat the yellow snow.
You know, if your dad was warning you, it's probably a good reason for that. He may have been the cause of the yellow snow.
Oh, I hope he watches this video.
I don't know. They said they couldn't figure out YouTube, so...
You're tossing my parents under the bus.
And we tried to send them a free kit, and they're like, we can't figure out the YouTuber.
The YouTube. What is the YouTube?
Is it on the interwebs?
I can see my green is a slightly different shade of green than that one. I'm going to paint my little tree now. It's tiny, and it's really undefined. Like, it's defined by this blob. But I'll take my green paint... And let's go ahead and do it like we did our other fir trees. Draw the tree trunk. And then dab on some tree boughs. Bring it all the way out close to the edge of your glow. And if it feels too light, like I could do a mix of that evergreen color. Oh, yeah, that's bright. Maybe I will. It's like a blue tree. I'm doing a mix of the two greens because why not?
Because Sundays happen.
Sundays?
I don't know.
It's not Sunday, it's Monday.
See, I'm all out of whack.
How much of that wine did you drink?
It's not that. It's how much sleep have I had? How much...
And the fact that you worked all weekend, so your days are kind of thrown off.
I have no idea what day it is.
So this tree does not look good. It didn't when I first did it. It really looks good when we put the ornaments and lights on it, because right now it's just totally disappeared. We're going to let it dry and ignore it. Pretend it's not there.
I got carried away with my glow. But you know what?
You totally did.
I know how to fix it.
Yeah, if you get carried away with the glow, just bring some black back around it. And honestly, it really would create a bigger glow than what I've painted here.
That's what I was going for.
Let's outline our birch tree. So it is just thin lines in black. Right now, don't worry about the bark. Just outline this giant tree trunk that we drew. And I'm going to use my little brush. I'm going to mix some water with some black. Just to make it like the consistency of like heavy cream, which you know is a little thicker than milk. I'm talking about the pourable heavy cream. And
is there a non-pourable heavy cream?
You know, there's the heavy whipped cream and the kind in the can and all that.
That's not heavy cream, that's whipped cream.
I'll start up here and I'm just going to drag really lightly down along here. Don't worry about your lines being wobbly. You actually want them to be kind of wobbly.
It's true.
It's a tree trunk. They're going to have little knots and all kinds of imperfections. And I am not pushing very hard. I'm using the very tip of the bristles with the lightest touch possible. I tend to balance this side of my pinky on the board, as long as it's not wet paint underneath, although I do often get a lot of wet paint on my hand because of that. And now I'll do the other side. Maybe if I turn it this way, you guys might be able to see it and watch a little better. Here we go. Whee! Super light touch. If you have enough water mixed with your paint, you should be able to get a nice long line with it. But you don't want so much water that's going to bleed out into the background. That's why heavy cream is about the right consistency. And now for the bark. It's literally a bunch of curved, broken up lines that go across the tree. And sometimes there are little dots even. I'll just start right here. So I do some on each side. Sometimes they're in the middle. See that? Easy. Easy peasy. Probably the easiest thing we've done in this painting. Sometimes just do some dots. They're, you get those woodpeckers that come in and they do this. Those little rows of dots like that. We would get a woodpecker that would come, and our chimney had a little metal cover on it, and it would bang on that really loud, and it echoes throughout the entire house. It wakes the entire family up, and all hours of the early morning.
That was at our old house.
No, it happened here too in Sherwood, and remember, we'd hear it and we'd be like, haha, it's at the Kesey's now.
Oh, that's right. Boy.
We could hear it at the neighbor's house.
People are to start looking the neighbors up online.
Yeah, it was really funny. Well, it wasn't funny when it was on our house, but it was funny when it was on the neighbor's house.
Remember that party you had the other night?
We sent the woodpecker over.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So the tree branches are kept pretty high up. They're actually solid black, and we put the snow on the top edge of them later. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then part of a 6th. And they grow up and out, and then I branch off of them just a couple times. Same mix of paint. You got the heavy cream mixture, so make some more if you need. So it's black with enough water to give it the consistency of like heavy cream that you've just poured out of one of those cardboard pitchers. I'll start right here. Go up. Light pressure. Use the very tip of your brush. And in fact, if you lessen the pressure as you get out to the end of the branch, it makes it nice and thin and pointy on the end, which takes some practice. It's not something I expect you will do it right out of the chute. So if I did 2 branches on this one, then I'll usually do like 3 on the next one just to keep them from becoming too pattern-like.
Which in and of itself is a pattern.
Yeah, you're right. Make some go off the edge of the board on this side. Oh, we gotta figure out where our bird is gonna sit.
Put a bird on it.
So
Yeah.
let your branches sort of dictate that, actually. When you get done, you'll be able to see. Let's see, I'm going to make that go off there. I don't like this one.
What?
This one I made kind of go out too horizontal.
First you're insulting the tree in the background, telling it's not pretty enough to be here in the summer.
You made me sound so bad.
Now you're insulting this branch just for being a little bit crooked.
Well, my trees in the background here don't look so pasted on now. This one does.
I mean, you're the one who made the tree, so...
Okay.
Tree's all like, I try, Mom.
Some of these you could bring even to the middle of the tree trunk because they would grow out of the middle. That's one of the habits I fall into. Sometimes I just make them all come out of the sides, but technically they would come out of the middle of the tree. So a good bird branch for me. Gosh, maybe I'll make one. I'm going to add a 3rd on this one. I wasn't going to. There. Bird can sit right there. I could have had it sit right here. I could have had it sit right here. But I saw on my original I have this one branch that kind of comes straight out towards the barn. I like it there.
Maybe you should put a little box of like sodas and candy bars underneath it.
I should. Thank you, bird, for
The bird dropped the turd.
being there. Pooping all over my UPS gift box.
Hi. Somebody says hello.
Hi.
Jazelyn. Wow, that's a
Welcome to
cool
our
name.
Yeah, welcome to our
live stream.
Monday night painting. Hey, don't forget, I just want a little. It's probably all that's left. Yeah, just like the same amount you poured me. It's Monday. I've got a busy week ahead of me. And you know what? We haven't had any wine or anything for almost a week. So.
Right?
All right, so let's go ahead and go back to our tree. And the tree is actually still a little bit wet, but the wreath is nice and dry. So I want to take my littlest brush, clean it off, get all the black off of it from working on your birch tree, poke it in the yellow paint, and do tiny little dots all over your wreath. They can extend out beyond your wreath a little bit, because if you've ever wrapped a wreath with lights, you know, they wrap around it, so some of the lights are going to be not, you know, they're not all going to be just right on the wreath. Sometimes they're right at the edge. I like a lot of lights, so I really do dot on quite a few. And now let's do the same with our tree. And again, same thing. It can extend out into your glow. I like a tree that looks really wrapped in lights. So here, I'll give a blown up version. This tree, very, 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 very lit up. Lots and lots of little yellow dots all over. That's what we want with this one too. Gives it sort of a magical look. We'll put some red ornaments on here too, but that'll probably be when we do our red bird. Then we'll be working with just red.
I feel like I'm falling behind.
Yeah, what are you doing?
I'm
What's with your tree?
painting. What are you doing?
You have the skinniest tree ever.
What?
There.
Oh, yeah, I painted it back out.
Okay, so it's still in progress.
Yeah, because I had painted it, and then you were like, let's put a glow on. And I'm like, oh, I got to put a glow on.
So you undid it. You undid your glow.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is my nice lit up tree. Love it.
Well, Jaslyn, we're here.
We
I hope I'm saying your name right.
He can't see much of anything.
No, I got my glasses on. I can see it.
That doesn't matter.
I'm just looking at the spelling. I'm not sure.
Okay, so there I've got my fun lit up little fat Christmas tree and my wreath. And this will get some red ornaments, but like I said, I'll do it at the same time I do the red birds. Then we don't have to wash and change.
I gotta catch up. Hold on.
Let's do snowflakes now, and then the last thing we'll do is the bird and the red ornaments. So we'll paint the snow dots. I'll show you how to do these cute snowflakes. We'll do those first. That way we're not having to like paint over dots with them or anything. And they're super easy. Super duper. They're so easy. And some of you guys in the studio do such an amazing job with the snowflakes, so I don't have any worries at all. I think you guys will do just fine with these. I'm going to pull aside a little white. I'm going to mix a tiny bit of water with it just to get that kind of heavy cream consistency. Your water has some color to it, but I can see it's not really mixing in with my white, so that is not a problem. To make a snowflake, a six-sided snowflake, what you do, so figure out where you want to put one. You can do some practice snowflakes on a piece of paper or something first if you want. Figure out where you want it to go. I have 3 on the original, but you can paint as many as you want. I've got a nice big open space here, so I'll put one there. I do a single line first. It's about maybe 3/4 of an inch to an inch long. I just dipped my finger in black. That won't be good. I don't want that on my board. And then I do an X through it. And this X can be the same length, or it can be slightly longer than that original line. So slightly longer than an inch or slightly shorter. You could leave it like that, but I like to dress it up a little more. So sometimes I'll just do these little V shapes at the end of each of these. So obviously down here we're doing upside down V's. Other things I like to do is maybe I'll paint a little bit larger dot right in the middle over where look, that's cute. I love that. So cute. Then sometimes I'll do just little dots in between each little carrot. You can do dots at the edge of these little V shapes. I mean, you can really dress them up really pretty. And if you do 3 or 4 or 2 or 1, it doesn't matter. But if you're doing more than one, try to make them slightly different. So I'm going to do this next one a little different. So it's going to be finding where to put it. That's always fun. How about right here? I'm going to draw the line. So this time I'm doing the line at a slight angle so it can be kind of tilted. And then the X.
Send me an angle.
And this time, instead of the V's at the end, I'm going to do a short little straight line. And I could do another one of those under.
Ooh, candy cane. Candy canes would be
Do a
fun.
dot in here. Candy canes, where?
Somebody's eating a candy cane.
Oh. And then I'll do like 2 dots at the ends of these and maybe a dot in between each so it's nice and pretty.
Pretty like you. Creepy.
And then on the original, I have one down in the snow. So if your snow down here is really, really white, it might not show up. So maybe you put one over here or somewhere else. I'm going to try it. My snow is a lot lighter on this new one. But I think one will show up if I put it right here.
How many snowflakes are you doing?
I'm doing 3. I like odd numbers. And you can see that throughout the paintings. I did 3 trees here and 3 windows. It's just something I think I naturally do without even thinking about it.
Well, I think it's a natural thing. It's a good formula.
Okay. It's the 3 wise men here. Oh my gosh, so Greta had me, our daughter is 14, she had me Google something last night that I was just like, this is not legit. It is not, and it is, it's truly legit. So Google minimalist nativity scene. You have to look. It's a real thing. So what it is like wood blocks that say like Mary, Joseph, Jesus, wise man, sheep.
That's funny.
I thought it was a joke, but you know what? I shouldn't laugh. There are people that probably are really into that and they shouldn't laugh about it.
No, I think that's actually a really cool idea.
It just, it struck me as like, whoa, this is different.
It popped right up. I like it, actually.
I knew you would. I knew you would.
Like, I'm going to go home and make one.
You can sell them. We can paint them.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I need some little dots of snow. I put them all over the place, all over the barn, in here, all over. I'm going to use the handle of my smallest brush.
Who's Oliver?
I stamp it in the white, and I usually will dot it off on the palette a couple times because that keeps your snowflakes nice and small. If you go right from the paint to the board, they tend to be massive. I think. Let me try one. It's not too bad with this brush.
I think probably on the board, not so much. It's probably a bigger issue on the canvas because the canvas flexes.
That could be. It could be. You and your little factoid.
I can't help it. I'm left-right brained.
Do you remember the book series Encyclopedia Brown?
Yeah.
Did you ever read those?
Yes, I did.
I think you were Encyclopedia Brown.
I think it was my role model.
Random facts. Paul will remember.
Remember Mr. Wizard's World? That was my favorite show.
I'm not surprised.
You don't remember it?
Yes, I do. It was channel OPB, wasn't it?
No, it was on Nickelodeon.
Oh, it was? What am I thinking
Actually,
of then?
to be honest, my favorite show was Bob Ross.
There was some show on OPB, I think, that was kind of like Mr. Wizard's World. It was some guy that did like scientific
Oh, I'm sure.
experiments.
Wasn't it Bill Nye?
No, it wasn't. I
That
could
was
be
after our time.
I could be totally off. Oh, you know, I just noticed I need to put the extra coat of snow on the edge of the barn there. So you guys can dictate whether you want a blizzard or just a light snowfall. I usually will just do a light snowfall.
I thought I had seen that there was a chance of some
Clean
snow
off
next week.
the bottom of the brush. So do make sure you wash, or not wash off. I just wipe it off on the towel. Otherwise you get a buildup on here, and the next time you do snowflakes or stars, you've got this funky buildup that's harder to work with. So I am going to put the snow over here. The second coat. I've got my little brush in hand, so I'll just use it. And this is only if you need a second coat. I see I could use a second coat on this. As the paint dries, it gets a little more see-through, so sometimes you might go back to something and realize, oh, I needed something else. Red bird. This is the smallest red bird, and it's literally just a couple shapes.
What was that thing? Redbird.
It was a commercial. Hayden used to say it all the time. So I did a circle head, and then an oval body, and then I do the little triangle top and the tail. It's pretty easy the way it comes together.
I'm gonna give it a shot.
Solid red paint. That little head is about the size of one of your snowflakes. It's really small. And you can make it facing the barn if you want. I just kind of faced it away because I think it's because I'm right-handed. I tend to draw everything facing to the left. So when I draw people in profile, they're always facing that way. So then I draw an oval at kind of an angle. It just touches the bottom of the branch. Oh, this is going to be a nice fat bird. He's been winterizing, eating lots of stuff. So with the glare, it's kind of hard to see, so I'm going to tilt it this way. I'll bring it up a little bit. You can see my two circles, a circle and an oval. And then the tail is just some flicks of the brush at an angle. There.
Wow, that looks actually way in focus right there.
Yeah. And then the triangle top. So cardinals have this fun little feather formation at the top of their head. I just did a couple flicks of the brush. Very tip of that little brush, and very, very light pressure. Because if you push really hard here, you're going to get a big fat brush stroke, which you'll end up with Elmo on the branch. All right, let's have a look at this cardinal up close on the original. So here we go, way up close. So you see the little black where their eyes are? Looks like Angry Birds.
It totally does.
And then the orange beak. You make orange with the red and the yellow. And it's literally just a tiny line. You could probably leave it off if you wanted to. So I'm going to take a tiny, tiny bit of black on the tip of the littlest brush. And brush just a little black, like mask. He's got a little, he's Batman and Robin mask, superhero mask, or villain mask. Wash the brush. Let's go for some orange, red and yellow. And if you want, you could even add a touch of white to that if it's not quite light enough.
Okay, I'm done.
More yellow than red. Do you want an award?
I do.
More yellow than red for this particular orange. I made way more than I need. I could paint an orange bird on here too.
You could paint.
And when you mix paint, here I am mixing with my little brush, you end up with a lot on the brush. So I tend to drag and pull just to knock it off, or just wipe it on your towel and then re-dip the tip of the bristles in. And then literally just make the tiniest little line. Ended up kind of big. It's a duck bird. There you go. Tilting it all different ways for you guys to see. And that's done. The bird is done. Yay! The bird is done.
Mine's fat.
If you do a good job and you want to paint more, put some more in the branches. They travel in flocks, so
Do they?
Yeah. Well, I assume that my...
So if you were going to pick an Oregon winter bird, what would you pick?
Let's see. Well, the Oregon state bird is western meadowlark.
Yeah, but that's not what I consider like a
Okay,
wintry
so I always
Oregon
see
bird.
finches in the winter.
I always think of juncos.
Okay.
You know what a junco is?
Brown.
It's the one with the little black head.
Hmm. All right, last thing we have are some little red ornaments in the tree. You can do any color, really. And they're just little dots. You can use the handle of the brush if you want, or you can use the bristle end. And just plain old red. And just dot them in there wherever you want. Wherever. I'm going to do something extra on this painting for fun. Because it is like a little bit faster paced. Or at least it felt that way tonight. I don't know. How long have we been on live?
Hour and 40 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's a little faster than normal. Yeah. Nice. I like those because it's real pretty painting. And when it goes fast and it's pretty, that's a good combination rather than painting like crazy forever. I'm going to grab my red truck. This is the third in the trilogy. So we've got the red truck, the red barn, and I can't grab it. Marion Bright is the name of this one. So that's the one with the snowman. Yeah, it's the same scene or the same location. So we do sell that as a 3-pack panel if you want to do all 3 paintings. You're super dedicated and you really like this series. Okay, so on the red truck I did these fun shiny twinkly lights. And I think on this one it would be fun to do one at the top if you have room. I'll show you how I did that. Littlest brush, I cleaned it off, dipped the very tip of the bristles in white, and then at the very top of the tree, just do a little white dot. And then you want to use very light pressure, and I flick from the middle of the dot, I flick upward and downward and side to side. I'm always flicking from the middle out because that's going to give you nice pointy edges. If you go from the edge inward, you're going to have a flat, blunt edge, and we want nice pointy edges to this. And then I'll just do some more flicks in between. So you have this pretty Christmas star. I love that. The extra credit piece.
You just doing one?
Yeah, I mean, the red on mine is still really wet.
Yeah, mine is too.
You could do them all over like the truck one hat. If you do really good with it, some people have a hard time with it because it's tiny brushwork, and we're talking really small on this. If you mess up on it, I think you could easily touch it up with the black background combined with painting some more green tree on. But that is it for our holiday barn painting. Super fun.
Don't forget to sign it.
Yeah, I need to sign it. I really like this snow compared to the original. I like see how I've got a lot of texture going on through here? A lot of little bumps and lumps. You see that, Paul? See? I
do.
And then this one is really flat, like a field. It depends on what you like. I like this, actually. So, way fun. My barn on this one is a little smaller, but the door is a lot bigger. So there we go. Let's have a look at Paul's.
Hold on.
Or he's not quite ready.
I'm pretty much ready, but I kind of like... There's this little pocket I didn't like so much, so
Okay.
I'm just adjusting it real quick.
Well, for those of you guys who are new, I'll talk to you real quick while he's finishing up about care for your brushes. This is one of the things I always forget to talk about. These brushes are synthetic, and I'm super picky about my brushes. I like them to be pretty firm, but also flexible, but not too flexible. So I literally will go through so many brushes trying out samples to get the perfect one that I feel like is perfect for beginning painters, advanced painters, whatever. Just a brush is going to hold up really well and not be too floppy. I hate floppy brushes, and I hate ones that have too few bristles too. So for cleaning these, just some warm soapy water works perfect. So what I do is I'll go in my kitchen sink and I put a little squirt of dish soap on my hand, and then I run warm water, and I rinse the brush under the warm water, and then I take the brush and I go like this, back and forth, round and round in my hand, and then rinse it out and just let it air dry. Super easy. And then you can reshape these little ones. So if you after it's rinsed, the final rinse, if you pull it into a point and let it dry, it will help reshape it. And this one too, I would do that. So, okay. What's going on with the camera there?
I don't know. Never had a timeout before.
Okay. I'm going to move my stuff aside so we can show Paul. So Paul always does different things than I do. He'll take my painting and give it his own spin. So let's see what he did. Look at that. I like that. That's fun. I like the H barn. So he added some bluish highlights in here that ended up turning purple, or did you actually make them purple?
I made them purple.
Okay. And then his tree, he reflected the green part of the tree onto the ground and has a lot more interesting stuff going on over here. Like maybe this is a rock that's covered with snow. And another tree back here for him. And then fat red bird.
Red bird. Hey, it's a winter bird. It's going to be fat.
I gotta sign my painting. So when you guys sign it, pick whatever color you want. I like the signature to be on this type of painting. I want it to be a little subtle. So I'm not gonna do it in red, which would normally I'd be like, yeah, red. I'm gonna sign it in red. I'm gonna take and do kind of a bluish color, and I'll just do my initials. Paul signed his in white. There we go. Holiday barn, super fun. I would love to see what you guys do if you change yours up at all. I like your tree, Paul. It looks more natural than mine. So you just did like bigger shading.
Which tree?
This one, the birch. Like mine has little fine lines. You did kind of bigger.
Trying to get our camera back on.
I realized that I forgot to, when I redid the wiring, I forgot to...
So if you're just tuning in, this is your first time watching us, we've been doing the subscription box for the GoBox Art Crate for a year now, a little over a year. And it's been fun to watch our subscribers grow on YouTube and both on the Crate. You can buy it on Cratejoy, or you can buy it on GoBox.com. Either one gets you right to us. We ship you 2 projects a month. You follow along just like you did today with all the supplies we send you. And also, if you are on Facebook, we have a group page. So it's not a business page. It's an actual group called GoBox Art Crate. So GoBox is our actual business page on Facebook. GoBox Art Crate is the fun page. So that's the one where my students or people following along the videos will post pictures of what they did, and we all talk about it. And it's really fun. I'll post sneak peeks of upcoming projects. So if you want to join that, you can request the join, and Paul and I will accept your request and add you to the group.
Well, it looks like we're not going to get our picture back until the battery charges, but
Okay.
oh well.
You won't get to see our faces before we say
We
goodbye.
can come in and go, jazz hands. All right, bye everybody.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
us.
Tune in on Friday this week at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for us to. We're going to go through this one, Merry and Bright. So we'll guide you through that on Friday.
Adios.
See you later.